The engines of the Phoenix roared like thunder, vibrating through Alex Carter's bones as he gripped the controls, sweat beading on his brow. Outside, the stars shimmered in the vast expanse of space, a beautiful backdrop to the chaos unfolding within the spacecraft. Red lights flashed ominously, their urgent beeping filling the cockpit as alarms blared, drowning out his thoughts. Stabilization systems failing. Manual override required. The AI's voice echoed in his ears, but the words felt like a distant whisper amidst the storm of adrenaline surging through him. Damn it! He muttered, wrenching the yoke to the right as the ship pitched dangerously. I need a report, Lin! From the engineering bay, Dr. Mei Lin's voice crackled over the comms. We're losing pressure in the starboard thruster. I'm rerouting power from the auxiliary systems, but it's not enough. Just do it, he barked, focusing on the viewport. Below, Earth loomed larger than life, a swirling blue marble. Failure loomed closer, its shadow stretching over him like a predator preparing to strike. Alex's heart raced, not just from the imminent crash but from the weight of his past failures. Hold steady! Captain Jonah Reed's voice broke through the din, firm and calm. Alex, remember your training. Breathe. You've got this. Taking a deep breath, Alex nodded, though he knew Jonah couldn't see him. I'm trying, Captain. But something feels off. He quickly glanced at the diagnostics, realizing that the numbers didn't just hint at a malfunction, they screamed sabotage. Are you suggesting there's something wrong with the AI? It's been tampered with. Alex interjected, eyes widening with the revelation. Someone's trying to bring us down. Silence hung heavy in the cockpit. We need evidence, Jonah replied, a note of urgency creeping into his tone. If we're going to survive this, we can't let them succeed. Dr. Lin, can you isolate the breach? I'll try, but it's risky. I'll need time, May replied, her voice tinged with frustration. Time we don't have, Alex said, urgency lending steel to his voice. I'll keep us steady while you work. Just hurry! The ship shuddered violently as he fought to keep control, the forces of gravity clawing at him like a living thing. Outside, the Earth's atmosphere beckoned, a siren's song that promised destruction. Each second felt like an eternity as May's fingers danced across her console, seeking the truth hidden within lines of code. Got it! She exclaimed, her excitement briefly cutting through the tension. There's a backdoor in the system. Someone accessed the AI and input false commands. Who? Jonah demanded, his voice clipped with the weight of command. I don't know, May replied, urgency flooding her words. But I can try to reverse it. I just need to get into the mainframe. Do it! Alex shouted, his hands trembling slightly on the controls. The reality of their situation pressed down on him. Failure here meant more than just a mission lost. It meant lives, their hopes dashed against the unforgiving rocks of Earth. Alex, keep us level, May urged as she focused on her task. Working on it. He felt the ship lurch again, and panic tightened his throat. This is not how it ends, he whispered to himself. Suddenly, the ship jolted, sending alarms blaring louder than before. The lights flickered, plunging them into half-darkness. What now? Jonah's voice was tight with worry. Emergency power is failing, May reported, the calm in her voice slipping. We're going to lose thrusters. Not if I can help it, Alex growled, his mind racing. With a fierce determination, he adjusted the yoke again, pushing the ship to its limits, praying he could outmaneuver whatever fate awaited them. As they plunged toward the atmosphere, their fate was uncertain, but one thing was clear: this was only the beginning. A corporate conspiracy was at play, and they were caught in the crosshairs. The race for survival had begun, and Alex would be damned if he let anyone else dictate his destiny. With resolve igniting within him, he tightened his grip on the controls, ready to confront whatever lay ahead. System stabilizing. The AI chimed, its tone devoid of the urgency that had permeated moments before. Alex took a shaky breath, the cockpit lights flickering back to life as he released the yoke. They had survived the descent, but the battle was far from over. Dr. Lin, what's our status? Jonah's voice was calm, a stark contrast to the tension coiling in Alex's gut. Power's holding at 75%, May replied, her voice steady despite the adrenaline still coursing through her. But I'm not sure how long it will last. We need to run a full diagnostic on the AI and identify the breach before it escalates. I'll check the comms, Jonah said, his eyes narrowing. If someone is pulling the strings, we need to find out who and why. Alex nodded, but his thoughts were elsewhere. The dark tendrils of paranoia snaked through his mind. Who could have compromised their ship? The possibility of betrayal hung heavily in the air, its weight palpable. He had trusted his crew with his life, and now doubt threatened to unravel that bond. Can you access the security footage from before the breach? Jonah asked, his fingers dancing over the controls. Give me a second. May's fingers flew across her console, a look of concentration furrowing her brow. Come on, yes! Accessing now. The screens flickered, images streaming across the monitor. Alex leaned closer, watching the frames unfold. Shadows flitted in the corridors of the ship, figures moving with purpose. There! Pause it! He shouted, pointing at a silhouette lurking near the central hub, moments before the alarms began to blare. Jonah squinted at the screen, his expression darkening. That's Lieutenant Marco. What's he doing there? May frowned. It doesn't make sense. He should have been on the observation deck, not near the mainframe. Could he be working for someone else? Alex felt a chill crawl down his spine. He had never considered Marco to be anything but loyal. We can't jump to conclusions, Jonah said, a steeliness in his voice. But we need to confront him. If he's involved, we can't trust him to be anywhere near the control room. Before they could strategize further, the ship rattled violently. Alarms blared once more, the ship's warning system echoing through the confined space. What now? Alex gripped the edge of the console, his heart racing. An unknown vessel is approaching. May's voice was tense. It's targeting us. Shit! Jonah snapped, already moving to the weapon controls. Alex, prep for evasive maneuvers. We need to buy some time to assess our options. On it! Alex's fingers flew across the controls as he initiated the maneuvers, the ship lurching as he fought against the pull of gravity. Outside the viewport, a dark shape loomed closer, an ominous shadow against the backdrop of the stars. Can we communicate with them? Jonah asked, his voice taut. Not without risking exposure. If they'd hacked the AI, any messages could be intercepted. May replied, her brow furrowed in thought. We need to be cautious. Right. Keep your eyes on the screens, Jonah instructed, his gaze fixed on the approaching ship. Alex, give me full thrust on the port side. The ship jolted again, a warning siren blaring as Alex complied. We're pushing limits here, Captain, he shouted, trying to maintain control while monitoring the diagnostics. Just keep us in one piece. Jonah barked back, sweat glistening on his forehead. As they swerved away from the encroaching vessel, Alex's eyes darted back to the screen. It was a sleek, menacing craft adorned with insignias he didn't recognize. The ship's weapons systems powered up, illuminating the dark void with a menacing glow. This isn't just a warning, May said, her voice shaking slightly. They mean to engage us. Prepare for combat, Jonah commanded, determination igniting in his voice. We'll fight our way out of this. We are not prey. Alex felt a surge of adrenaline. They were no longer merely surviving, they were fighting back. The stakes had never been higher, and with betrayal lurking in the shadows, he would do everything to protect his crew. He glanced at his friends, each face a mix of fear and resolve, and knew one thing, they would not go down without a fight. Let's show them what humans can do, Alex said, a fierce determination burning in his chest. /. The ship shuddered as alarms screamed through the cockpit, the dim lights flickering like dying stars. Alex's heart raced as he steadied his hands on the controls, the imminent threat of the unknown vessel pressing down on him. Jonah, what's the status of our weapons? Recharging, Jonah shouted, his eyes fixed on the targeting system. "We'll have them online in 10 seconds, but we need to keep evading." "Hold steady, May," Alex said, his voice strained. He could feel the ship lurch beneath him, every jolt sending a shockwave of adrenaline coursing through his veins. "Give me an update on the enemy's position." May's fingers danced over her console, urgency threading her voice. "They're closing in fast. Their weapons are online and primed for firing." Alex's jaw tightened. "We can't let them hit us first. I'll initiate evasive maneuvers." "Just be careful," May warned, her tone laced with concern. "One wrong move and we could lose control." As the enemy's ship lunged forward, Alex executed a sharp turn to port, the gravity pulling him against the seat. The other vessel veered after them, a sleek shadow darting through the blackness of space. Jonah gritted his teeth, frustration bubbling beneath the surface. "Where's Marco?" he growled, eyes narrowing as he scanned the ship's layout on the display. "We can't fight effectively without our tactical officer." "I'll send a message," May replied, but Alex caught the worry in her eyes. They were short-staffed, and without Marco, they were flying blind against an enemy who might have inside knowledge. Suddenly, the ship jolted violently. The lights flickered as a burst of energy hit the hull, sending a wave of panic through the crew. "Hull integrity at 75%, the AI warned, its voice laced with static. "Reinforce the shields," Jonah commanded, but before May could respond, a loud bang echoed through the ship, rattling the cockpit. "Alex, we're taking damage!" May shouted, her hands flying over the controls as she rerouted power. "We need to find cover, now!" "I'm working on it," he shot back, sweat trickling down his forehead. He felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. The lives of his crew rested on his shoulders. "Hold on!" He veered the ship into a nearby asteroid field, using the massive rocks as shields against the enemy's targeting systems. The ship danced around the debris, each turn sharp and calculated, adrenaline fueling his every move. "Alex, that's risky!" May yelled, the fear in her voice palpable. "If we get too close to those asteroids, we'll either dodge or die trying," Alex retorted, determination surging within him. They were fighters, humans, and they would not go down without a battle. The enemy vessel followed, its relentless pursuit echoing through the cockpit. "They're gaining on us," Jonah warned, his voice edged with urgency. "We need to do something, and fast. Get ready to fire," Alex commanded, a fierce fire igniting in his chest. "We can't let them dictate the terms of this fight. Firing on your mark." Jonah's fingers hovered above the weapon controls, anticipation building as they rounded another asteroid, narrowly avoiding a collision. "Now!" Alex shouted, heart pounding as he aimed. Bright beams of energy shot from their weapons, striking the enemy ship's hull. It flared against the darkness, a brilliant display of light illuminating the void. The enemy vessel shuddered, returning fire in a desperate bid to regain control. Alex swerved, narrowly dodging a beam of energy that crackled dangerously close. "We're holding them off," he exclaimed, his confidence surging. "But we need to find Marco." "Right," May said, her focus unwavering as she pulled up the ship's internal comms. "Marco, respond! We're engaged in combat and need your tactical input." Silence hung in the air, a tension settling over the crew. Jonah's face darkened. What if he's not on the ship? What if he's the one leading this attack? "No!" Alex shot back, disbelief flaring in his chest. "We can't think that way. Marco has been with us from the start. He wouldn't betray us." Just then, the comm crackled to life, Marco's voice emerging from the static. "I'm here. What's going on?" His tone was breathless, a hint of confusion threading through the urgency. "I got locked out of the control room. What do you need from me?" Relief washed over Alex, but it was short-lived. "We need your expertise. Can you help us with the enemy ship's maneuvers?" "On it," Marco replied, the sound of frantic footsteps echoing through the calm. "I'll find a way to get control back. Just hold them off a little longer." The enemy ship roared past, weapons firing indiscriminately. Alex's grip tightened on the yoke as he steered sharply to avoid another barrage. Hold on! We're not done yet! He could feel the tide shifting, the burden of their survival weighing heavily on him. With Marco's help, they had a fighting chance, but the danger was far from over. He needed to believe in his crew and in their resolve. Together, they would forge a path through the shadows of betrayal and emerge victorious. The tension in the cockpit thickened as Marco's voice crackled over the comms. I'm locked out of the tactical systems. Can you hold them off a little longer? His urgency matched the pulse of the alarms, each blaring note reminding Alex of the stakes. Just get in here, Marco! Jonah shouted, his eyes darting between screens, desperately trying to track the enemy's movements. We can't keep dodging forever. On my way! Marco's footsteps echoed down the corridor, growing louder, but the time lag felt insufferable. Each second was a countdown to disaster. Alex gritted his teeth, focusing on the target ahead. May, status report! Alex barked, his heart racing. They're regrouping for another strike, she replied, her fingers a blur over her console. Shields are holding, but I can't guarantee for much longer. Prepare to initiate a counteroffensive, he ordered, even as doubt gnawed at him. If Marco didn't arrive in time, they would be caught in a crossfire they could not escape. Just then, the enemy ship's tactical display flickered onto their screen. They're changing formation! May cried, eyes wide with realization. They're flanking us! Hold tight! Alex shouted, yanking the controls to the left, narrowly avoiding a deadly barrage. The ship trembled as they veered away, the hull shaking under the impact of stray energy blasts. Almost there! Marco's voice echoed through the comms, a beacon of hope amidst chaos. I can see the control panel! With a final twist, Alex plunged the ship into a narrow canyon of asteroids. The rocky formations loomed like ancient giants, providing a deceptive refuge. Use the asteroids as cover, he instructed. We can outmaneuver them. The enemy ship pursued, closing the gap as laser fire erupted in the void, illuminating the darkness around them. Alex's pulse quickened. We need to divide their fire. Got it, Jonah replied, adjusting the targeting parameters. May, I need a reading on their weapon systems. As if on cue, Marco burst into the cockpit, breathless and wild-eyed. I'm in. What's the plan? Make sure we can fire on their flanks, Alex directed, feeling a surge of adrenaline. We'll need every ounce of firepower we have. Diverting power to weapons! Marco exclaimed, fingers flying across the controls as he got to work. I'll initiate a volley on my mark. Now! Alex commanded as they emerged from behind an asteroid, the enemy ship vulnerable in its pursuit. Energy beams lanced from their ship, striking the enemy vessel with pinpoint accuracy. The ship erupted in a brilliant explosion, sparks flying in every direction. For a moment, victory felt palpable, a rush of elation coursing through him. But that relief was short-lived. They're still coming, May warned, panic creeping into her voice. They're reinforcing their shields. Reinforce our fire! Jonah shouted, frantically reloading their weapons. We need to break through. Evasive maneuvers! Alex yelled, feeling the weight of command. If they can't hit us, they can't hurt us. He jerked the yoke, guiding the ship through a tight spiral, the view outside becoming a blur of rock and shadow. The enemy ship trailed behind, its weapons locking onto them with a furious determination. Now! Marco's voice cut through the chaos, steady and clear. Fire! Alex pressed the trigger, sending a barrage of energy blasts toward their foe. The beams impacted the enemy's shields, bright flashes illuminating the darkness. Then, with a resounding crack, the shields faltered, splintering apart like glass. Yes! May cheered, a glimmer of hope igniting. We're breaking through! But just as victory seemed within reach, a warning blared from the control panel. Hull integrity compromised. Critical damage reported. Not now! Jonah roared, gripping the console. We can't take another hit like that. Marco, divert power to the shields. Alex ordered, his voice steady despite the chaos. On it! Marco's hands flew over the controls, rerouting power with precision. Hold on! Alex shouted, executing a sharp maneuver that sent them careening into another asteroid cluster. The ship rattled violently, but they remained intact, at least for now. Fire again! Jonah commanded, desperation edging his voice. The enemy ship, reeling from their initial barrage, attempted to regroup. But they were relentless, pushing forward as if they were the embodiment of destruction itself. Another strike incoming! May shouted, her voice strained. Brace for impact! The ship lurched violently as the blast hit, lights flickering in protest. Alex felt the jolt reverberate through him, a stark reminder of their fragility amidst the vastness of space. Are we still operational? He yelled, panic threatening to rise. Barely, May replied, her expression resolute. We can't keep this up much longer. In that moment, Alex knew what had to be done. We need to take the fight to them. Are you insane? Jonah's eyes widened. We can't. We'll be obliterated. We'll use the asteroids as cover. Alex insisted, determination surging through him. If we can draw them in close, we can launch a final assault. It's our only chance. Alex, that's risky, May warned, but the resolve in his eyes steeled her uncertainty. It's a risk we have to take. As the enemy ship closed in, Alex steeled himself for the challenge ahead. They had come too far to back down now, and no matter the odds, they would fight together. He tightened his grip on the controls, preparing for the final confrontation, determined to prove that humanity was anything but weak. Together, they would rise against the shadows and emerge victorious.